Today with me is Detlef Maushake. He will be our main speaker today. So, a few words about SmokeD. SmokeD is a company that is creating, manufacturing hardware and software for early wildfire detection. Uh, our main clients are obviously forests and foresters, national parks, but we have some like maybe not that obvious, like for example, residential communities, uh, every type of power plants. We monitoring for the SRP the power lines in Arizona. Also, we have in Nevada we have installation on a solar farm. So it's not that obvious always, but mainly our clients are forests and national parks. Um, we are offering, as I said, hardware and software. Our main products are cameras that we call detectors. They're looking in a one direction. And we have camera PTZ, what stands for pan, tilt, and zoom. So it can rotate, it can zoom. So we also have software, which I will tell you soon more. Um, we have desktop application, we have web application, and also mobile application. But before we move on to the explanation, that's a quick view on our installation in some place. As I said, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but probably yes. Here, as I said, we have the Arizona SRP installation. Here we have solar farm and also forests, as I said. So how it works? Um, the data coming from our devices is getting sent to the cloud, where we have AI algorithms. They are analyzing the data that is coming in, videos and pictures, and when they detect the possible danger, they sending the alarm to the client. So moving on to the web application, it's basically your dispatch center in laptop. You can turn the control over the cameras. You can review the alerts, check the locations, look it on a map. Everything you need, you have here. Some numbers. We are currently monitoring over 9 million acres with over 500 installations for 120 customers. Moving on to the mobile application, it's basically the same as web application. It's just pocket version of it. The only difference between them is that you can control the cameras with the phone, but it might be not very comfortable with on a phone. Also, we can proudly say to you that we are in a final phase of developing the autonomous drones that can verify our alerts. We are using API from DJI to send the drone from the dock. The main idea is to have dock with the drone in it, and sending it on a location. If you are interested in, we will be able to show you how it works. We are currently making our pilot installation in Poland. So if you are interested, you can schedule a meeting with our CEO. He will be able to show you how it works like in live. One last slide is our data analysis center. As I said, when the data coming out of our cloud, the alerts, they are going to the clients. But we can add one more thing in this chain, the data analysis center. Our team in Poland can verify alerts for you to minimize the false positives that are coming from the system. So that would be it about SmokeD. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the Detlef's presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask them via mail. You get invitation for webinar from. Also, you can check out our website. I'm here for you. So, Detlef, whenever you're ready, you can start with your presentation.
I just need to know if the presentation is on.
Yeah, it works.
Because I don't see anybody else, which is not so bad. So the important part is that you see me. Yeah, thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm glad that I am able to give the presentation. I will try to cover all the points that have been kind of announced from SmokeD in beforehand of the presentation. So if any question comes up, please don't hesitate to ask. I will be trying to answer them afterwards. One major point, I will point my finger at fire departments, forestry services, or other people that are not, that did something wrong or that are on the wrong path. That's not a personal thing. It's just for us to know we have to learn about stuff that happens, and it's never been meant in a very disrespectful way. That's the point I want to point out beforehand. So who's talking to you? You can see my face on the screen. I'm Detlef Mausak. I'm 55 years old. My job is with the Professional Fire Department in the city of Salzgitter. I work as a captain running a fire station. And of course, I'm active in the volunteer station in the little village I live in. My extensive training started in the US more than almost 30 years ago. And I've had several missions, but I'm not the main topic of that presentation here. My qualifications go up to a strike team leader and division supervisor. I also hold a qualification as a heli-tech leader. And that's all American-based and WCG system that I did during my vacation time over there. I'm the head of the non-government organization and civil protection asset Waldbrand team, which is one of two big German assets that are organized to support in that kind of field. We're taking part in international committees. That's the AFAN, that's the Advanced Fire Analysis Network, Northwest Fire Roundtable, and others. You might know them, and I can only strongly recommend networking at a high level. We, meaning the Waldbrand team as a group, is member of a national committee, as a working group, developing training for the National Wildfire Protection Group in Germany. So what's the Waldbrand team? It's an NGO. We have currently 65 members. We are civil protection certified, so it's not just an association. We're a civil protection asset. We strongly follow the NWCG standards during the training, National Wildfire Coordinating Group of the US, and also the German expert recommendation of hand crew training, which has been formed in the last year between the AdFire team, which is the second NGO, another fire crew, which is attached to a Brandenburg Fire Department, and us, to set standards for hand crew work in Germany. So our crew is not a real hand crew. We can work as a hand crew, but we can also use fire tactics. We can use engine operation, hose operation. So we are kind of in between. And of course, we do a fitness test and additional training. Training in the picture is left is training in Portugal, and the right picture is one of the fire calls that we followed with the Bombeiros from Mundim de Basto during a mission there. We delivered and attended courses within the Fire Rest framework. The Fire Resilient Landscape project came to an end last year, ran for a couple of years on a European level. And of course, we are attending courses with the Pau Costa Foundation for Technical Fire Management, and our fire analysis team, as you see in the middle picture and to the right, do a lot of training to get expertise in that field. But we're not the main topic. Last words for us. The main reason we formed the association was support for other countries in need. Could be Germany, but the main support is Portugal, where we have bilateral agreements with different fire departments. And last year we had the chance to send 2 crews over a span of 14 days to support fire missions in the area of Vila Pouca de Aguiar in the north of Portugal. And of course, we are supporting German fire departments if the need comes up. Our response is in 3 stages. Stage 1 is advice via telephone, which is only for simple fires. You know that you've been in the field, so rather clarification or further assistance than real advice via telephone. Then we can send a team of fire behavior analysts with a personnel stage of 5 with a leading FBAN and 2 fire behavior analysts for divisions. We also operated often as safety in divisions to have an overlook for the crews working in the area. And of course, we can all pack our bags and go and make a full team response with a tactical aircraft water application coordinator. We are running pumps. We have hose in backpacks, wetting agents, use of tactical fire. So the whole, broad capabilities of a mixture of hand crew and engine tactics. But let's come to the changing wildfire landscape in Germany. If you talk to Germans, you might hear the word, Germany is not a wildfire country. Au contraire, would the French say. So on the contrary, I would not agree to that. And why is that? A short overview about Germany. We have roughly the size and population of California, but we're densely populated and industrialized. 30% of the area is defined as forest land, and about half of the trees that are still standing, I'll come to that afterwards, are conifer species. The weather, though, is a very wet climate, but it's been changing in the past years into drought conditions, and we had stress on the vegetation. I'm not a forester, but that's what I learned being in this field for a long time, that the dry stress puts a lot of fire danger on the ground. Our problematic fields it's a federalistic structure. So all the states that you see here, like I hope you can see my, so let's say up north between the North and East Sea, we have Lower Saxony right up here.
Excuse me.
So if you can follow my mouse, this Lower Saxony up here ranges from the sea to very densely forested areas down here. Here's a border of the Harz Mountains. So every state has its own legislation, its own forest service, its own fire legislation, sometimes going down to the radio call signs, not compared to other states, which makes it difficult working together. And it's all politics. So if Lower Saxony says, we want to follow this path, the bordering states of North Rhine-Westphalia or Thuringia or Hesse might say, no, we're not going to follow this rule. So it's all very, very, hard work to get everybody under one umbrella. Different forest responsibilities. I will show you in a second how certain areas of Lower Saxony are set up. We have state forest in Hesse. We have state forest in North Rhine-Westphalia. Lesser private forest. So a lot of people to talk to. And as this Lower Saxony is my state or my federal state I live in, I'm going to refer to this as an example. Then we have a kind of a screen about a loss of trees compared in percent of the whole forested area in the counties. So you see, there is no really area that's not been affected, especially these areas where like 30% of the whole forested area has loss of trees. So we are in a drought condition. We are in stress condition for the forest, and that poses higher fire danger because we get more dead fuels, we get drier vegetation, we get lesser regrowth in the spring. So it's kind of, we're changing towards a fire landscape, more or less. Not to the extent in the southern European states, of course, because the vegetation is different, but we are really on the way into a change. The drought conditions resulted in extensive bark beetle infestations, and to an extent where the foresters couldn't even keep up because the new generations of bark beetles came so fast, it just took out whole forests. And I'm a friend of saying if the forest is not gone, it will come back eventually in a different setup, meaning we have regrowth. I'm going to show you some pictures to indicate how this will take place. And of course, it can pose other problems. looking back into generations of the older forests, we had like 30, 40 years old conifers with a lot of high trees and a little undergrowth, which is changing now to newly developed forests. Another problem is we have changes in land management towards a leave it as it is policy. There's so no fuel movement. You want to keep the beetles. You want to keep it naturally. That's fine with me. Imagine that you're putting a kind of a fire line into the forest where the fire can travel, can develop high intensity ground fires, and just sterilize the ground if the fire sweeps through. So, and make it incapable for the fire service to respond to these fires because the intensity is way over the threshold of control of the local resources. I'm a friend of saying there's always a gray between black and white, and we're thinking about gray things in the middle, starting to do some fuel movement, do some treatment, not for the whole area, but to make certain breaks to have chances to stop eventually popping up wildfires. We have a no fire rule for controlled burns and fuel reduction. Sorry, that's a mistyping. Reduction in forested areas. There are some tryouts, but we're far away from a full cover controlled burn operations or watch. The other point is our vegetation is different than the vegetation in southern European states, where you can see, like in Spain or Portugal, they do understory burn in the winter time, or like it's in spring a couple of weeks ago, members of our team were down in Portugal for a burn. Our forests are different, the vegetation is different, and the trees are very can easily be harmed by a little fire on the ground. But I still think there is a way to implement fire in certain areas to just remove the fuel and maybe kill a couple of trees instead of losing the whole forest when a wildfire sweeps through. We have a no fire management. The WFU is an expression I used from the United States. It's a wildfire use. So a wildfire is ignited by lightning or other reasons, and but it meets prescriptions. So we say, no, we want to burn this forest eventually, so we let it burn to a certain extent or to certain boundaries, to certain level of complexity, and then extinguish it. Germany has a total suppression rule, like in the US Forest Service in the early years, which led to a massive fuel buildup. Pictures 5 years in between. That's the Brocken. It's the highest mountain in Germany. So you see all conifers, all green, and 5 years later, it's all dead, standing dead wood. And this has been an area where there have been fires a couple of times, and it's just a total different setup. A good friend of mine, I guess I've seen him in the audience. He will smile now when I say the Harz Mountains are the porta potty of God, because it rains so much. It's so wet, and but this changed. Now we have dry areas that are really volatile for and receptive to wildfires. Hard to extinguish because the standing dead trees pose an immense risk to the firefighters. Talking about ownership, the map you see is close to my place where I live, and we have an absolute jigsaw puzzle of ownership in the areas. You see all the B is for Bundesforst, it's federal forest. We have community forest or ownership groups, and we have church and monastery forest parts. We have state forest inside that area. So imagine a fire burning through all these areas. Imagine who you have to talk to, who you have to get on board for making decisions on financial issues and stuff. So that's one major part of also the fire prevention side. If you want to dig a hole and dump a tank to sort of store water in the field, you have to find financing. So there are a lot of minefields that you can hit trying to do prevention. Another thing that many people outside from Germany don't even know about is Germany was war zone in World War II, and even in the Cold War, the Russians and all the allies from the Western allies used Germany extensively for military training. Apart from that, there are a gazillion of ammunition in the ground, and especially in Eastern Germany. The white in the middle is Berlin. And you see all these, that means percentage of the county area infested by ammunition. And you see a lot of over 30%, 30, 40%, and the red with over 50% of the area is infested with ammunition. And that ranges from little grenades to bombs, mines, to just ammunition. And a lot of forest fires in these areas are considered to be going off because of like phosphorus ammunition setting the forest ablaze, and you can't go there fight it because it's still ammunition in the ground. You have to keep away. So this is a real big problem in a lot of areas in Germany. Lying with statistics. Germany is not a forest fire country. If you look in the forest fire statistic of the Federal Institution of Agriculture and Food, you'll find numbers like in 2022, it's about 2,500 forest fires, and in 23 it's 1,000. A little over 1,000 forest fires. Doesn't seem that much for a country that large. Looking to the fire statistic of North Rhine-Westphalia, which is very, very detailed, in the same amount, like 2022, we find over 5,500 vegetation fires. So double the number of Germany in just one federal state. We're suggesting that the number kind of is underrepresented by 15 or 20 times in the official statistics. The 5,500 vegetation fires, of course, are from two steps with boots on the floor up to major incidents. But the numbers show even in 23, it's 4 times as much as in the rest of Germany. And that poses another picture. If you multiply this by, let's say, 10, because not every federal state is affected, we are talking about 40, 50,000 incidents yearly. So it's highly underrepresented in the statistics. Now you're talking statistics, you're talking politics. If you want to have money for prevention for anything, they're looking at the numbers and say, yay, 2,500 fires, that's nothing. And you pull up the other statistics saying, oh, it's 5.5 just in North Rhine-Westphalia. So it's always a hard deal to negotiate. I'm glad I'm not in the position to do that. We have a German fire danger rating system. The left screen, the WBI, is the Waldbrand index, meaning the forest fire index, ranging from 1 to 5. And the right one is the grassland fire index. That's actually translatable. Graslandfeuer index is grassland fire index. That's cool. Never found this out. So if you look into the area like this Lower Saxony again, and this part here has a same date, has a forest fire danger of 2, and the grassland is at 4. That's not very hard to understand because grassland, you're talking the 1-hour fuels, maybe 10-hour fuels, if that, but mostly 1-hour fuels. And of course, we're talking longer fuel types and even in this drought conditions. But there's a misunderstanding in Germany saying, it's only dangerous if it's 4 or 5. And a lot of vegetation fires in the Brandenburg area, which is this part here, happened during forest fire danger rating 3. So, the German Weather Service, who's supplying this rating system on calculations, is already recalculating it because we found out, we meaning the fire, the fire side of the weather, found out that sometimes we had prescribed fires going on, especially on military installations, where the fire with grassland stage 1 or danger 1 burned was like 5 or 6 meter flame, it's 18 foot, which is unprecedented. And so they are trying to recalculate their stages to make it more accurate. Yeah, I have to show this because it's a different system than SmokeD, but everybody knows German has the automatic fire, wildland fire or forest fire early detection system. It's a company that supplies cameras that are doing black and white pictures. They're mounted on towers, either radio towers or on fixed installations, houses or stuff, and they're doing a 360 turn and triangulate any change in the air with I don't know how many thousand gray scales you can see, so they early detect any change in the atmosphere. It can be a dust from a farmer, can be a fire, can be other things going on. So the Lower Saxony State Forest mans this control center and tries to call the local fire service after triangulating the real place of the incident. Problem is, it's only starting at the high fire danger levels, so the manning is not permanent, and no, it's not the whole state that is covered by the cameras. So only the wildfire-prone areas in the east or northeast of Lower Saxony are covered. But our State Firefighters Association, these two planes are not owned by the fire service. They are owned by the Fire Services Association. They're manned with a pilot, a firefighter, which is qualified as a battalion chief usually, and a Forest Service member with special training in evaluating smokes and fires. And these two planes are covering the rest of the area. They can be called in for tactical support, of course, but usually they do fire detection and make their turns in the areas that the cameras don't survey. So kind of a very good addition to that. Some people see it as comparison. I see it as a very, very useful addition because the cameras can't do tactical support, but these planes can. We have a Forest Service member on board. We have a firefighter on board that can give tactical directions to the firefighters underground, and the eye in the sky is just not replaceable in my eyes. So that's a picture that they've been taken, and now we're to the point where we see how German fire departments interact with this is a fire on the field, and we had one fire engine over here extinguishing some parts. We had a fire engine over here, but tactics are lacking. This picture is a couple of years old, and this fire engine is in front of and developing head fire. This fire sort of made the curve here and is burning all this way. So we have a lot of tactical problems still with the fire service, but the tactical air support, the eye in the sky, could go to this truck and say, you better move, or you get a little burn scar on your truck. So that's a very helpful situation to have an eye in the sky. But it's not all bad. So we have developments for the future. The European Forest Institute with the Forest Service and a private company developed a forest field fire module for farmers with an IBC, a little heart reel, and a little pump, just to be mobile like a Type, I would rate it like a Type 7 engine, just to have water on board to be sufficient in the field as a very good outlook for the future. We're switching over to operational challenges for fire services and cooperating agencies. The challenges are always looked upon as a major part. If we take a brief look at the history, 1975, August 10, Lower Saxony, the tank truck in the left, equipped with 5 firefighters, got overrun by fire when a flank in the nearer of the village of Meinasen in Lower Saxony turned into a head fire, and they all burned to death on that very forest road. And in this time frame in 75, over 300 fires ignited around 13,000 hectares, equivalent to about 32,000 acres, and killed 5 firefighters by fire, and another policeman and a firefighter got killed in traffic collisions. And this is still in the mind of some of the people. We're talking about wildfires, and in some areas, we are back in the forest structure to experience something like this. The youngest was just 16 years old. He just joined the fire service. and that sits in the back of old timers like me. I'm considered an old timer now. That's the Lower Saxony with counties. So we have different counties within Lower Saxony. We have the state of Bremen and the state of Hamburg. There's 3 states that are other federal states. We have different responsibilities if we look at Lower Saxony. The national parks are under the supervision of the Ministry of Environment, Energy, Climate Protection. Forestry and preventive fire protection. So the Forest Service is under the Ministry of Food, Agriculture, and Consumer Protection. And of course, Ministry of the Interior is responsible for fire suppression, the legislation to fire suppression. Fire suppression local responsibilities are on the county level. So I work down here and I live right here. So these 2 counties are responsible for their fire protection. And this leads to different problems in the setup, because sooner or later a fire in an area like this will cross county boundaries. Then you're operating on 2 county grounds, or even 3. And this is also the area. This is also the area that was affected in the 75 fires. If we look at the fire service, we are heavily relying on volunteers. Lower Saxony has about over 3,000 volunteer fire departments with 130,000 firefighters. We just have 11 paid departments and 2 full-time fire units. So 13 fire departments compared to 3,200 volunteer. We have approximately 1 firefighter per 80 inhabitants. That's quite a lot, seems, but the volunteers are struggling with day manning, and jobs are far away. So the backbone of vegetation fire is the volunteer fire department in the countryside. Point. That's it. The truck in the picture is one of the standard type minimal equipment things for fire departments. They can range up to big scale fire departments, but that's kind of the minimum. With about 1,000 liter water, we have self-contained breathing apparatus, normally meant for structure fires, but of course they are using this on vegetation fires too. Look at the wheelbase, look at the setup. It's not a real off-road vehicle. And this is one of the major problems. We can't reach some areas in the forests with these trucks. There are specialized ones, which I'm going to show you, but the basic equipment is not off-road capable. There are neither service, there's no service in Germany that supplies specialized brigades like BRICA or Sabadell in Portugal, or the Forest Service in the US, or that are very specifically designed to fight fires in the wildland. Some fire departments have special units, but they're part of the fire service. So we're developing towards specialization, but we're not there yet. Coming to air support, we have a contract from the state of Lower Saxony with a private company. It's a KMN helicopter operating AS-350, 355 helicopters with a 1,000-liter bucket, which are a state resource. But the long decision path that you have to go to get the resources and aircraft, if any are available. We just have one firefighting plane in Germany on a contract with a county. Then we have the state police and the federal police, which are not designed to fight wildfires. So their setup and the pilot training is not fire-based. They have some training, but they're police officers. And, they have a different task usually. The state police struggles with the weight of the helicopter because they're delivering very, very little capacities in the buckets. Federal police can deliver up to 2,000 with the Super Puma, and the Federal Army, of course, with the Army helicopters with 1,000, 2,000, or 5,000 liter bucket, depending on the setup of the machine. But the main problem is really getting them on board, because it runs all the chain of command up and runs across and comes back down, and takes, compared to other states, takes much longer. This is a video. I know there's no audio, but that's not the point. In the video, you can see different wind directions. Looking from the wildland fire side, you can see firefighters in the middle of a burned forest or partially burned forest. But that's a situation you're running into because firefighters underestimate the dangers and the situation they're in. So I'll try to start the video. I hope it's going to be running. See smoke up here, smoke here going in a different direction. And actually these firefighters are in front of this fire. They don't even notice that. I hope you could see the video. This is a very good example for the situation. There's no need to be there. You can't do anything about this fire at that given point, and you are in imminent danger because the fire that is coming towards the road you're on might torch the trees right beside you, and you're in an entrapment situation. So we have a long road ahead to implement that in the mind of the firefighters, because usually we go to a structure fire, we do something, the fire goes out. Now we go to a vegetation or wildland fire, we do something, and the fire shows us the middle finger and just absolutely doesn't react because the situation is way over our threshold of control. So we have to understand that our approach sometimes might be to stand back and wait till the tactical advantage comes to our side. Another point is that's one of the fires on the Brocken area. There is a train running here, which is supposedly one of the reasons for the fires. It's possible, but you have also to take into account that it's a heavily touristed area, and sometimes tourists might play a role. I'm not a fire investigator, but you see a lot of standing dead trees, so there's no working around this. This is the picture from the first moment where there's the only access road right in the middle, and here is a train running up, and there is a distance of about 300 meters in between, very steep hill, and the fire, the wind pushed the fire around here. And in the second or in the first night, we tried to do a tactical fire here to stop it, and it's just a no-go area with all these dead trees. It's life-threatening there to operate. Yeah, then we see this older pictures, but we use things like this in America. USA OSHA or US safety regulators will get a meltdown if you see this, because this truck is driving. We're talking about the backing fire, and that's just not appropriate tactics. Same as laying a 75 millimeter supply hose for a fast-moving wildfire. I have a suggestion. This hose never saw water because he was running off the field when the fire hit. So these are tactical problems that we try to encounter with better training and make them understand that frontal attack on a fire is always a no-go situation, because it's just imminently too dangerous without an anchor point to risk your life for trash, because that's double. It gets, discs under the ground, and that's it. This is not a picture from southern states. That's a picture from the early hours of the forest fire on the border of Germany to I'm losing my words right now. It's Sächsische Schweiz. It's in these mountain areas, and you can see really good developed pyrocumulus cloud. So the fire is very intense, very high. There's a lot of energy coming out. The forest that's burning looked like the forest we just looked at. A lot of dead trees, a lot of down materials, so a lot of potential. And this fire just took off, and this is about 5 hours in the fire, and it already developed this kind of plume, and you can tell what the fire will do in the next days, and it did. So we have a situation here where the reception of the dangers is not really settled yet, but we're moving towards it. So all these circumstances move toward a better understanding of the dangers we're facing now in the near future. But I'm pointing my fingers on all the bad parts. Now the good parts. The Lower Saxony Civil Protection bought command units 4 CCFM, Camion Système Feu de Forêt Moyen, on French-based wildland fire truck. The Portuguese will say VFC. So it's kind of a forest fire truck and a logistic truck, and they form one of 4 G3FV modules in Lower Saxony, the ground firefighting force using vehicle modules of the EU. They have been on calls in France already and proven to be good. So it's high. It's a high wheelbase, 4 personnel on board, and good capability of off-road driving, and it's a perfect match for the fire threats for the future. And they have also been on call, or have been called for the fires in the Harz Mountains. The state developed a TLF 3000 Welch, which means tank truck for fire extinguisher purposes with 30,000 liters and the forestry special equipment. A good truck that can be kind of refounded by the county, by the state, but it still holds 3 firefighters, and we know that personnel runs out or wears out easily. And but the standards in Germany concentrate on the 1 crew leader, a driver, and a firefighter setup for tactical reasons, instead of these trucks here, which hold 4, who have proven very effective. And yeah, it's a nice truck and it's a good addition, but it's lacking personnel. The one and only at a fire in the Goslar area. Goslar is close to the Harz in West Germany, and the Harzkreis, so the county that borders Goslar to the east, has the only firefighting plane now under contract. It's a PZL 18 Dramater. Anything between 1,800, 2,200 liters of water capacity can be refilled on mock airfields like this one. It's a Polish company that's supplying the airplane. And we used to have, for 2 years, we had air tractors with a European contract in Lower Saxony, but the contract was not prolonged because of contract issues, as far as I know. And but these were all also wheel-based, so we didn't have a fire boss because the water sources are not enough for the really scooping capacity of the air tractor. So we also refilled on the ground. But this is the only available firefighting plane as of now in Germany. Of course, there were developments. Standardized equipment addition for vegetation fires, meaning you buy a certain number of hoses, a certain number of nozzles, some FFP3 masks, some extra equipment. When I point my fingers at this, I'm not meaning harm to anybody being part of the development group, but if somebody asks me what equipment shall I buy, and I would also already take a map and say, what's your worst case scenario? And your worst case scenario is a fire on the furthest point between 2 forest roads. And if your 5 hoses don't reach there, it's too little hose equipment. If your pumps don't pump high in the mountains, get a Mark III pump, get a high pressure pump. Don't operate on the pumps you have and wonder why it's not working. So there have been developments, but sometimes I wish we would listen more to the experts. Not necessarily me, but we have more experts in Germany that would take a different approach into just printing out a paper and saying this is a needed or a nice adjustment. Firefighters tend to compensate missing capabilities with specialized trucks, and equipment. And a lot of fire services bought drones. I'm not a real friend of drones because first things first, unless you have the capability on the ground to attack the fire, and if you don't have enough hoses, enough equipment, and trained personnel, your drone isn't worth anything because you're going to detect the fire, you're going to find the fire, you're going to evaluate the fire eventually. And who's going to fight the fire? The guys with the structure equipment. So if you use a pendulum, I would go, it has to kind of move to all the sides of the picture or all the parts of the equipment. For the drones, who's evaluating the pictures? You should have somebody that is really into the field and say, I can tell you what the fire is doing, what it might be doing. Take a tactical map, topographic map, see how the features are, where's the fire moving, what's the potential of the fire. Just a drone picture doesn't solve it. ATVs, UTVs, yeah, you can go there very easily. Cool, nice asset. And which of the pavement queens, that's the word I learned in the US, which of the pavement queens who are not able to leave the asphalt roads are following the ATVs in the field to extinguish the fire. So I'm not putting it in a bad way. It's nice to have all these assets, but you have to see the whole picture to what makes stuff work in the end. High volume pumping units, for wildland fires. Yeah, there was a tryout in the Harz Mountains, and if you move the water on surface ground, everything's fine. Build in a little slope, the system is trash because it's just not made for doing this. And how much water do we really need? I worked fires in Portugal of a 3,000 liter truck for hours. Just if you use the fire very dedicated to the point where it's needed, and not exaggerate your water spending behavior. Hand tools. I have 5 fire departments. Yeah, we bought 20 hand tools. Nice. Who are the 20 firefighters that operate them for at least 8 hours in the field? And they look at you. What do you mean? I said, yeah, you bought 20 tools. Who's going to operate the tools? And so we have a saying in Germany, usually technical equipment follows tactical requirements. And I find nowadays it's somehow vice versa in some areas. I don't know if it's the same in different countries, but here it is. We are very proud, everybody together. A lot of states like Saxonia, the German Firefighters Association, Bavaria, Brandenburg, Lower Saxony, we had a lot of people putting input into this training curriculum for vegetation firefighters. And that's a really milestone. And now it's has been on the market since February 25. And we get a lot of replies that it's a long needed basic training so everybody can work on it, especially on the safety side. I'm going to extract some pictures. So that was unknown to Germany, apart from certain small areas, before that curriculum came out. So now we define the left flank, the right flank, we define the front, we spot fire, we kind of can work with dedicated nomenclature, implementation of laces, best practice tactics. All these are sort of impaled in this curriculum with a lot of input from the European Forest Institute, all other partners, to make the training as efficient as possible. Of course, we have, there's the implementation of CPS, a camper prediction system, to make firefighters known that what's your outlook over the day? Where are you on the graph of the fuel temperature? Are there trigger points and stuff? So this is all coming together in some way, but it's still a long road ahead of us. Lessons learned from recent wildfire incidents. This was the latest we responded on. That's a fire on the Lost Mountain in Goslar. So the fire, there's a road down here, road curves around here, and the fire was burning in this hillside. Doesn't seem very problematic, but it's a lot of dead and standing trees, so no real access. Fire started in the late evening, high winds, long spotting, and there was another big call going on in the county, search for a missing person at the same time. So the resources in the first stages were stretched thin a little bit, and then it happened. So that's Wildfire team also responded. We installed sprinklers on the left flank together with a Lower Saxony G3FV module, and operated a couple of days. So this is a setup. It's not a big fire concerned if you look to other fire sizes in Europe, but it's a problematic one because of the wind conditions and the forest material. So this is another picture from the area, a lot of smoldering material, and you just can't go there and mop it up. We also had in the night, I'm not sure which area this was, I guess it was some way down here, smoke came up below us and said, there's a spot fire. So we hiked spot fire with the firefighters in the night and found a almost 20 by 15 meter spot that has been smoldering for hours and could have been taken off really easily in the morning when the sun comes out. But yes, it was taken care of. So a lot of problematic topographic features with the forests there. That's a crew of the night. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of my guys because they worked their butt off in the night. Looking forward to networking. On the left is the former county fire chief, Uwe Fricke. The next one is a firefighter who's been on call with the fire I just named, and we had four Portuguese firefighters as guests in the past week. And of course, we showed them the burned area and discussed tactics and stuff. So exchange and knowledge exchange is one of the versatile and very, very important things you have to keep in mind if you work in a very dynamic field like wildland fire. Last year saw us responding with at fire to the fire in Gösselsdorf. I'm going to show you the parameter right now in a moment. Very hard terrain, and they on the right picture is very interesting. They were hiking in to do mop up way back here, and they found a spot fire that was just taken off. And hand crews, that's what hand crews are made for. They just can attack the fire right away and dig a line and dry mop it and do something about it. And that's just what happened, and it paid off. So that's one of the fire parameters. Thanks for @fire for supplying that parameter. You see, it's not a real hard thing, but take into account what I told you about the German fire department system. And it's a hustle for them to attack these fires because their mindset is just not yet totally on this. My beloved air team from the Lower Saxony State Firefighters Association supplies me with a couple of pictures. So imagine going to this fire, and my first question I asked in tactical training is, where is the fire going? Obviously, this fire is burning with the wind in a stubble field. So it's running into something green here and eventually goes out. So this is a spot that has been taken off because it was started by faulty agricultural equipment, and on the way out, it started another spot. So this spot has the potential here, and you see on the next picture, we have a building and a farm here. So this fire has a very good potential of hitting this farm, where this fire has no potential at all. Not no potential, but no real dangerous potential. But you see fire trucks fighting the fire here instead of concentrating all the efforts here. Here's fire on the backside, so they're fighting fire without an anchor point. You see that quite often, that firefighter underestimate the speed. If this fire crawls behind your back and kicks you in the butt, it's going to happen in seconds. So yeah, that's very, very common situation. Or like this, as a fire that's going with the wind. See, we have a lot of agriculture fires, and fire service is there, and the farmers too. So the wind is going now in this direction from the right, and you have this little L-shaped cornfields and stuff. So fire has potential. But the wind changed. The wind changed about 90 degrees, and what you can see here is the farmer already sort of incarcerated the fire, and you can see all the straw that's piled up is burning with longer flames. It's a lot of smoke, and nobody knows what these fire trucks are doing in the smoke. We're also talking about fire cancer, about smoke exposure, and I always tell my guys, when the farmer is there with a plow or something, lean back, take a drink, and let him work, because he's a gazillion times faster than you are. So the only potential now would be this one here, but there's no need to be in the smoke. Again, I'm not pointing my finger at the fire departments. Even in my department, things went wrong at different occasions, but we have to learn and improve out of these situations. Importance of training and also the international knowledge exchange is a very important part. So we have new approaches in training in Germany. The Draeger company developed a simulator. They asked us to be, part of, the input. And what happened is they designed a wildfire simulator. If you're familiar with the sim table or the setup that the FAST team, the fire analysis and support team of the Spanish firefighters have, it's kind of in between a analog sandbox and the sim table. It has a beamer on top, so a projector. It projects the picture. You can do the landscape as needed. You can kind of put in your map of your local area, form the landscape, let the depth camera take it, and the fire will react to topography, to vegetation, to all that stuff. So you can set up some vegetation types. Here you have a little, village, dry forest. We have broadleaf forest, cornfields, grass. It's not all few models that are known to us are inserted there, but it depicts fire behavior. You can change wind speed direction. You can shading stuff. So it's a very versatile piece of equipment because instead of the analog sandbox where you have like the setup and you have to kind of move it yourself and take into account as a trainer how the fire is behaving, here the fire is behaving in real time and putting the overhead under extreme pressure because, you have houses in danger, how you set up a structure protection group, how you, organize your field under stress, leading under stress. That's me doing the beloved thing, lighting straw. No, we have a partner as a farmer, and we can use his kind of shed. He puts a sand, and we can sort of develop a landscape and show fire behavior in real time. So, what will the fire do when it runs in the drainage? What will the fire do if it crosses the mountain and backing down a hill? So you can see fire behavior. And I can show the trainees 1,000 videos and a gazillion of pictures, but nothing is better than real life fire operations. The hardest part is we can't do that all year round in Germany because of weather conditions and legal permissions, but we can use this as an sort of replacement to get a better understanding of fire behavior, of flame length, of heat output, of smoke, of just the surroundings that influence our work as a wildland firefighter. Conclusion of lessons learned. German firefighters tend to think that I read a curriculum, I'm good, but in my opinion, that doesn't do the trick. You need expertise. You need somebody teaching you the stuff that you can read, that you can learn by heart, but you have to evaluate things. And Paul Gleason, the main developer of LCES, once said he's a student of fire. And I consider myself a student of fire because there's always something to learn. And the very moment I stop learning, I will stop my profession because that's not my mindset. So you have to learn from very experienced people. We have to implement best practice. LACES, tactical, the attack from the flanks and all that to keep our firefighters and forestry personnel safe because there's no need to kill somebody for trees that will regrow eventually. Equipment purchase, I told you already that has to be adjusted to local needs because it's some fire departments buy trucks that can spray and have a spray bar. And I look into Google Maps and say, the only straight road that you have is your main road through the village. Everything else hillside. You're not going to drive over fire because there is no place where you can drive over fire. So the adjusting of what's really needed is very important. A lot of firefighters are under the impression that aircraft solve the problem. Aircraft is a nice little helper, but it's not the solution of the problem. That's a hard deal because the aircraft's there, everything's fine. No, you still have to put your boots on the ground and try to fight the fire. A good friend of mine, Alexander Helt, once said, "A euro spent in prevention saves a maximum of euros in suppression." The problem is prevention doesn't pay off, doesn't show itself. Suppression does, but prevention doesn't. It's like an insurance. You never see how much it's worth until it's put to action. So, but I totally agree with him that we should be getting better in fire management and fire prevention than always focus on the suppression side. Special units like at Fire, which is their unit is way bigger. They're at over 500, and the Vibrant team with our 65. I really find we're a vital help in these situations because my guys go to Portugal, go to Spain. We are sending people to America, to South America to learn, to understand, and implement their knowledge here. And that's nothing a normal fire department could do easily because of the other tasks at hand. And I guess that should be the way into the future. It will be a long way. I already said that, but we have to work together, all these people, and it's just an overview about the network that comes together in these instances to get all these people, especially politicians, the landowners, and the stakeholders on board, and tell them, we have to do something because buying more hoses and aircraft's not going to do the trick at the very end. And I found this saying by myself saying, of course, if we don't change our approach, Mother Nature will show us our wrongdoing because it's a force of nature and we're just small ants trying to fight it. I have to thank you for your attendance. I hope it didn't bore you for the full time. And you have my contact data here. I'll be available for questions right after the presentation. And thanks again for the invitation. And that's...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Detlef.
Close this one.
Thank you for sharing this insight about such a specific and complex topic as German's wildfires. I think you exhausted the topic because I don't see any questions. But it obviously it's not that bad because we are now over the 1 hour of webinar. So it's kind of good that we don't have any question. But if you would like ask any question to Detlef right after webinar, if you would like to reach Detlef or us, we'll obviously provide the contact information. Also, Detlef show you his email. So if you would like to reach us, rather SmokeD or Detlef, we are staying for you. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Detlef. Thank you to all audience here today. Thank you for the discussion on the chat because we had quite a discussion. Not any questions, but we had quite a discussion on the chat. So thank you for the participating in the discussion on the chat. And see you next time. Thank you, Detlef. Thank you, guys.